Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming. I am Steve. Most of you know me. So today we are doing a presentation on the power of dreams. It's a little noisy. Sorry for the background noise. Power of dreams. What I like to do always is start with a video. So we're going to start with a video. I'm going to make some smoothies.
First went to California when I was 7 years old. I ate the tangerine off the tree. And I think that is the triggering moment that got me into natural foods. Basically, made up raw nuts, seeds, sprouted grains, fruits, and vegetables. And it means that it was unprocessed and it's not cooked. We dehydrate the food. We don't dehydrate them over 125 degrees. And the point for that is to not cook the enzyme out of food. When you cook food, you kill the enzymes, you kill the vitamins, you kill the nutrients, you kill all the minerals. And so your body doesn't feel nourished. Raw is a state of feeling. It's an emotion of feeling that every day is the best day of your life. And living at the cutting edge of life force energy. Really living. Like having a good time always. Not an artificial good time that has a hangover. But real, natural highs that are sustainable and that keep giving.
Let's say organic vegan cooked food, and we think glue, bleach, and metal.
Vegans do eat, breads, but there's a difference between a vegan and a vegan raw foodist. A vegan raw foodist will eat only plant-based raw foods, where let's say a raw foodist will eat raw eggs, raw meat, raw cheese.
Confidence content, there's no end to the benefits of the raw lifestyle.
One of them is more energy. I mean, probably the biggest problem that raw food is having is too much energy.
All my little aches and pains, they all went away, and I just started feeling great.
If you're too skinny, it makes you big, and if you're too big, it makes you skinny, and that's pretty amazing.
I have not been sick in about 8 years. I've not had a headache, I've not had a cold, my weight has been maintained for like 8 years. Emotionally, I feel happier.
People come up with all these amazingly interesting scientific explanations as to why raw food is better than cooked food. But the obvious reason is that it just has water and juice. If people want to be more juicy, and the only way you can get more juicy, that juicier tissues, that balance, is by taking in juice, drinking juice. But where are you going to get that? It has to be living food, original food.
Then there's the question of taste.
All that food is cooked on pots and pans, metal, which when it's heated, it expands, and food actually absorbs the metal on it. And when you cook food for 3 weeks, and you eat some raw, and then you go eat some cooked food again, even vegan organic, there's a very major taste of metal in your mouth, left over from meal, not food like sweet sourdough.
Critics suggest that the raw diet lacks balance and one important nutrient, protein. But raw fooders claim they have it covered.
Concern that we have with protein is a bit of a myth because there's protein in everything that we eat. I mean, spinach per pound has the same amount of protein as a piece of red meat. Now, granted, you have to pluck spinach.
There's a common misconception going around that we need tons of protein, and it's just not the case. And actually, too much protein is damaging and taxing to the body, especially for the kidneys.
Despite the restrictions, raw believers maintain that their way of eating presents dieters with more choices, not less.
We're looking at pizza, pasta, sushi, burritos, cheeseburgers, french fries. Anything we can make cooked, we can make raw, and it's way better. And that is guaranteed. Instead of steaks, okay, we're serving porcini and matsutake mushroom steaks.
In fact, the raw food lifestyle has spawned an entire industry. Today, there are raw food restaurants.
Thank you, number on here. This dish is ready to go, I'd say. Boom.
Raw cooking classes, and one staple of the raw food diet that separates the diehards from the dilettantes, what believers call the superfoods.
Superfoods are foods like goji berries. They're complete foods. They contain a lot of different nutrients and minerals.
Foods like raw chocolate, they've got a lot of magical powers. Honey is a superfood. Raw, wild, original honey. And, of course, bee pollen and things that come out of the hive are superfoods. And then there's the algae, spirulina.
To a newcomer, the idea of eating uncooked seaweed, sprouts, and grasses can be scary.
We just recommend people taking a slow transition and taking things one step at a time. Maybe giving up red meat for a week or two. Once you feel like you can stop eating chicken and do that for a couple weeks, and then maybe in a month or 2 months you'll get rid of dairy and you'll just be feeling great.
Remember the rule, 3 weeks, it'll be terrible and hard and, oh my God, this is make one meal and it sucks. But after 3 weeks, it'll get easier. You're innovating new dishes and things for how you find raw food recipe books. You figure it out and you piece it together a whole new kind of lifestyle.
But despite the spread of the raw food craze, some nutritional experts remain skeptical. The American Dietary Association, for instance, still advises a more well-rounded diet.
The raw diet's got a lot of very healthy aspects to it, a lot of fruits and vegetables, but it's not quite balanced overall. As a dietitian, I recommend a combination of raw and cooked foods. But sometimes when people think of cooked foods, they may be thinking of fast food, hamburgers that are fried, in fast food restaurants. That's not really what we're talking about when we say that it's good to have a balance of raw foods and cooked foods. We're talking about healthy foods like the fruits and vegetables and the whole grains and the beans.
All right. So that is the power of greens, the first video I wanted to show today. Hi, welcome. Come on in. And so greens for me has been an important part of my diet. For a while there I was wanting to do just mostly fruit, and I thought fruit was like the answer, and I've read some books that said fruit is the answer and just fruit. And what I've noticed is that since I've incorporated more greens, I've become healthier according to blood tests, and my energy levels are better, and I feel more grounded. I feel more balanced with that. So I'm going to get into some of the science behind greens in a moment, but I do have a special guest today, Carrie. Carrie's been a raw foodist for many years, and she even brought some things that she uses on a daily basis or a weekly basis to incorporate in her diet, and to talk a little bit about it. So I want to welcome Carrie. Thanks, Carrie.
As Steve said, my name is Carrie Myers. Sorry, louder. Carrie Myers, not used to projecting so far. So I've been raw the better part of about 3 years, and I shared before I went raw because of health issues. I thought it was not doable, really. It seemed drastic and unfeasible for me. I work full-time, I'm a single mom, and have lots of interests and activities that I like to do, and I just thought there's no way. So, long story short, I eventually said, okay, I'm willing to try this because it seemed there wasn't going to be any other way to get well, to feel good, to have energy, to clear up the myriad health issues I was experiencing, and so I did, very quickly, like overnight. And as I've said before, I never recommend that to people. I think the slow, gradual process is really what works the best. So after about 2 years, it became clear to me that this is really a passion for me, and this was what I wanted to do because it incorporates spiritual, emotional, physical, environmental, all these different things come into play when you eat in a way that supports your life, your well-being, the planet. It's all connected, it's all part of one thing. Greens are pivotal for me. I eat them at breakfast, I eat them at lunch, I eat them at dinner, and not to say that I don't eat other things, but it's really my experience very much what Steve shared. If I were to eat fruit all day, I would like shake, I of the things, I graduated from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, and over and over and over, the same thing I kept hearing was about greens. They don't have a department of overgreening to deal with this problem of too much greens in one's diet. We have all kinds of institutes and parts of the government that are working on cancer and diabetes and heart disease, and we don't have that problem. So the other thing that we're eating that what we see is primarily cortisol. Cortisol, stress hormones, and also insulin. When you eat in a diet, let's say white bread, white rice, potatoes, croissants, white burritos, things that don't have a lot of color, your insulin response is really strong because your body's saying, well, that's too much sugar, we need to deal with that. And what happens is that's what brings about fat production. So you don't get that if you're eating greens. So it's not that, it's something that's not happening. It's something that your body is not doing anymore. So for me, a typical day will look like a smoothie for breakfast, something really similar to this, with bananas, berries, spinach, or kale, or kale, spirulina. Spirulina, I highly recommend everyone down themselves some spirulina. It's usually like in a powdered form, and putting that in your smoothies cannot taste it. It does great things for your body and your skin. I brought a couple things here because I'm a very visual person, so when I'm doing something, I really want to see, well, what does that look like? I can hear it, but if I see it, I feel it better. So when I get to Sunday, I have done my shopping for the week, and what I do, just cleaning up a little bit of the smoothie, what I do is have enough greens that I can fill this Tupperware. So yes, it's Tupperware. No, it's not the best idea to store your greens in Tupperware, although if you look at it, am I going to eat it if I don't? For me, probably, but for most people, probably not. So this is about full to the egg. On Sunday, broccoli, arugula, kale, spinach, romaine, cilantro, parsley. You just get a bunch of cilantro, a bunch of parsley, chop them up and put it all in. If you like herbs, go for it. If you're like, maybe a little on the side is okay, just put a little bit in. Start where you are and do what's comfortable for you. So this is going to last you a week. Salad is done. So this is about how much that winds up being a day. About that much. These are available at Bed Bath & Beyond, at Costco. Sets of, I do keep my daily lunch in glass. So this one I think is, I can read the bottom. I can't remember. So I think it's $8. So it's about the equivalent of $5 to $6 for lunch. I brought this because on all my salads I have a little bit of olive oil. I don't recommend to people just pouring globs of oil on it. It's sort of just defeating the purpose if getting a little bit of greens and a ton of oil, but definitely a little bit of oil is good. Very honest, I love the taste of it. It's a raw olive oil. It's really good for you. I invite everyone to get a bottle of this and get a bottle of whatever oil is your favorite oil and taste it. You'll see. Sorry?
Is it online or wholesale?
Mariani, you can probably get it online. They do have a website. You probably can't get it directly from Mariani, but you can probably just get it through some websites. Locally, they sell it at Erewhon, they sell it over in the Santa Monica. Bragg apple cider vinegar, you can get this in lots of places. Whole Foods has it. I got this actually at the vitamin shop. This is a raw vinegar. Even on a candidated blend, they will use it in this. So, really everybody's that digestive issues. This is still a really good option. I have a lot of this, as you can tell. I buy it by the gallon. It's delicious. You can mix it in not only with salads, but nuts and other things for pâtés, which for me almost always has greens or some sort of kale or tomatoes. And the other thing for salads is round golden flash. This is your body's best friend. So one of the things that people talk about when they think about raw food is, how am I going to get reactive protein? And they were talking a little bit about that in the movie, the big protein myth. Before I went raw, I was consuming large quantities of protein because I was hypoglycemic and fluctuations and energy fluctuations, and I would get really chilly really easily. I would actually even get a little bit like off balance and spacey because my blood sugar was so incredibly bad. So it was like cheese and hot dogs, or like for me they were like there was still lots of chicken and lots of all this stuff that my doctors had always given me. We have to have balanced blood sugar, so you have to eat all this protein with every meal, protein with every meal. What I noticed, and it took me really about a year after I went raw, I don't do that anymore. I'm a raw vegan. I don't eat any at all. If I'm eating a lot of greens, I don't have beet sugar. That's not what the main traditional medical group was out purporting. So this also has a lot of protein and a low grade. This also is a huge digestive thing. So chia seeds or brown golden flax. I personally really like the golden, so I always point that out to people because a lot of people get brown flax, and to me it has a kind of stale taste to it. I really prefer. So a lot of people might like it, but I just point it out in case that's an issue. So this also, and we're talking like 1 to 2 tablespoons. So on this whole thing, it would maybe be, I don't know, having a quarter to a half of a cup for the whole week. And I don't put it on the salad. I put it on just that one. Because it's a what they call gelatinous product. So when it gets wet, it will turn into like a pudding sort of substitute. So I do that till the end as well. And then the last thing I brought that I wanted to show you. Okay, this one's called Divine Organics because it actually is divine. I cannot tell you the yummy factor here. There's no sugar, there's no additives, there's nothing in it. It's just pure vanilla bean, scraped out, and ground finely. So you need literally a smidge, not even a pinch, a smidge in your smoothie in the morning. And it just amps it up a little. It's sort of like French toast versus French toast with syrup, back in the food days. It's really, really good. So this one's Divine Organics pure vanilla powder. These are, I don't know, under $15. That will last you a long time. This one I got at Aircamp also. You can get it online. I think they sell this through Transition Nutrition. I think I said it So I encourage everyone to experiment with greens, to just try. What does it feel like when you're having some rice in a smoothie for breakfast, or having a salad for lunch for a few days, or for dinner, whatever works better for you, and just notice, what do I feel like for the next day or the next 2 days? That's how you can tell what's going on in your body, is when you make a change and you make it for long enough that you can kind of feel the difference. Well, that's how I used to feel, and now this is how I feel. So, that's to all of you on your food journey, and thanks for letting me share with you.
All right, one, I want to apologize to you guys. Usually we're not this crowded and the restaurant this early. And so the noise factor is not like this. Usually I could talk in just a regular voice and you guys can hear me, but there's a lot of background noise over there. So while that's happening, I'm also looking for some alternatives, other places to do this, or do it here at other times. So I asked like a few people yesterday if they would be into a Friday morning class here at 9 or 10 in the morning, and I just want to know if there's anybody here available on Friday mornings, if that would suit you, like 9 a.m. or something. 1, 2, 3. No. I know he's a no. Scott will be here. He lives here practically. No, I know. So, and then we're also looking at maybe doing an afternoon here or something, or when the restaurant's not so crowded and noisy, because we're distracting them and they're distracting us. Just wanted to get that out of the way. She mentioned, Carrie mentioned the flax seeds, and one of the things that flax seeds and chia seeds have that's really big are omega-3s. We talked about essential fatty acids, and essential fatty acids are essential, and they are, and they're the good fats. However, the 3s are typically lacking in our diet. We get enough 6s, if we're raw or even a standard American diet, we usually get enough 6s, but we don't get enough 3s. So flax seeds and chia seeds are high on 3s. And so are greens. Greens do have fat in them. People don't, I didn't know that at first. They're like, greens have fat? Yes, parsley has fat. Cilantro has fat. Celery has fat. Spinach has fat. All of the greens have some fat in it. And they're typically higher in the 3s. And the 3s are really important to us. And I'm studying this as I go too. But more 3s, more greens. Greens seem to be the nutritional, the nutrition in that food seems to be the stuff that we are lacking in any diet, whether it be standard American or raw vegan. It's like greens make up the balance, and greens are very powerful. So there's a few things in greens I want to point out besides that. Besides the protein, they have all the amino acids. Besides the omega-3s. And they have carbohydrates in them too. They're about 70% carbohydrate greens. You think carbs are bad. It's what kinds of carbs. Greens are highest in carbohydrates. And they're the lowest in fat and second lowest in protein, but carbohydrates make up most of greens. Oxygen. How important is oxygen? Do we think oxygen is an important thing in our life? Oxygen stimulates digestion, and it gives clearer thinking. The brain utilizes 25% of the oxygen supply. So when I do greens, and I'll do wheatgrass, or I'll do a green juice, or a green smoothie, I think I'm a little smarter, I'm a little sharper, I'm a little quicker with it, like I'm just more laser and quick. And it's a defense to anaerobic bacteria, which causes, anaerobic bacteria causes a lot of health conditions, and I'll get into that in a second. It promotes better circulation. Circulation ultimately nourishing every cell in the body. And increased circulation means better nutrition of the cells and more efficient removal of waste from them as well. So a lot of us are, we think about what we're getting in. It's always, what am I eating? What am I getting in? What about what's going out of me? And I'm not just talking about the kidneys and the bowels. I'm talking through the lymphatic system. And so we have 80 trillion cells in our body. And all 80 trillion cells eat. And all 80 trillion cells poop. I said that right. Poop. So that happens. So if so many of the health conditions are caused because we're getting stuff in. Some of it's good, some of it's bad, and a lot of it we're just holding on to everything, and we're not. And the body wants to do this, get it in and take it out, and remove waste. So, Nobel Prize winner Dr. Otto Warburg revealed that cancer cells cannot exist in the presence of oxygen, and that cancer is caused by weakened cell respiration due to lack of oxygen, and that causes fermentation, resulting in low pH, and that's an acid environment at the cellular level. So, do we know about pH? Anybody know? Like, you've heard of the term pH? We have alkaline, which is up here, and we have acid, which is down here. The more acid we are, the more health problems we have, and the more we feel it, and all the host of emotions that come with that, and anger and fear and all of that, is acidity contributes to that. So we want to be more alkaline, and so greens have so much oxygen. If you've ever taken a shot of wheatgrass or taken a green juice, and all of a sudden you're feeling like you want to get high, you get high off of green juice. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, because is it the oxygen, because my garden, so I went crazy this morning and made this green lemonade.
Yeah.
And I wasn't laughing at you, I was laughing because you're like, you need about this much. And you named everything, I just brought him like all that stuff, you feel that thing. So, but I did this massive juice with, tons of arugula, spinach, kale, and I'm like, not shaky at all, for sure, not like a blood sugar thing, but like, I'm breathing fast.
Yeah.
So what is that?
There's
lots of energy though.
The breathing fast deal, it might be, this is a new experience for you, and all of a sudden, because there is such a thing as too much oxygen. You could die from oxygen, you could die from too much water.
I feel great.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely, and I'm a huge juice person, but I did a massive bunch of greens.
Yeah. Yeah, I would probably after this class, I'm going to ask you what else was in there.
Okay.
Maybe there was a sugar spike or something, if you put apples or lemons or...
Lemons, yeah.
We'll talk. It could be detox too.
Okay.
So many things, but so our pH, the alkalinity goes up, and there's really only one disease. I don't know how many thousands of diseases that we have names for that are all over, and doctors go to medical school to learn all the diseases, and they specialize in their specific thing. And I've heard doctors who have studied this, come back to just one disease. Every disease can come back to one thing, and that's acidosis. It comes back to an acid body. Our body becomes acid, diseases start to happen. And then they put a name on it, and then typically in the medical field, they give some sort of thing to have you with the symptoms of that, but never go to the actual cause of what is happening, and it's acidosis. So a lot of people can just raise their pH, and some of their symptoms go away, and they start to feel better all of a sudden. And here's the thing too about weight loss. So people want to lose weight on the raw vegan diet, that's why they do it. And with higher acid levels, the body creates fat cells to store the acid. Our bodies are always trying to protect ourselves, and that's why we have mucus. It's protective. It protects us. So, same with the fat, we get acid, and our body creates acid, and then the body also will take, because it's so acid, will take alkaline minerals from the body, calcium, from the bones to neutralize the pH. And so sometimes people say, or no, not some people, most people's thinking is, well, we are, I don't want to get osteoporosis when I get older, so let's drink milk. And milk is highly acidic. And so the milk, yes, has calcium in it, but at the same time, they're robbing their own bones of calcium to neutralize the milk that I just drank. And I know for me, I was starting to get a little arthritic in my ankles from basketball. I was playing too much basketball, and I was getting it was like feeling achy, and my bones were hurting and stuff like that, because I was doing all this meat and milk and all this stuff. And since I've been on the raw food diet for the last 2 years, I don't ache anymore, and I believe my arthritis is gone, or the beginnings of it that were starting. And I'm a young guy, but I ate so much food with acid in it. I mean, it was just all acid-forming food. And LDL, the bad cholesterol, is made by our own liver in order to bind the toxins and deactivate the acidic waste that comes from certain foods, such as fats and animal proteins. So alkalinity will lower the bad cholesterol. So this is, when we start to align ourselves and the body goes to where it is meant to be, all of a sudden we start to feel better and our conditions start to go away. It's like a miracle. And, you know, the whole world, you know, goes to the pharmaceuticals and this to get pain relief, and there's $1 billion of industry in that. And it's like green smoothies, green juices, you know, and alkalinity. Some people say, I want to detoxify. People come to me and say, I want to go on a detox, Steve. You know, I want to detoxify my body. Alkaline your body, and you will detoxify. Because when you give your body what it needs, the body always wants to detoxify. If you're always having to fight, your body's always fighting for the acid you're putting in it. It's always trying to do its best to catch up. The body is your friend if you treat it right. And so that's alkalinity. And so chlorophyll. Who's heard of chlorophyll? Yeah, chlorophyll is serious business, and it's the blood of the plant. And it is the green, sometimes purple pigment found in growing plants. And human blood, our own blood, which carries oxygen to all our cells, is practically identical to chlorophyll on a molecular level. I've seen graphs of the science behind it, and it's like they're not far off. And so that's why they call it the blood of the plant. And they call it liquid sunshine, or sunlight's liquid form, or condensed solar energy. And so people know me as like the happy-go-lucky guy. That's like my thing, the energy, the happy. And people have called me sunshine before. You know, it's like, hey, sunshine. You know, and it's just like, because I am eating foods that come from the earth that were heated by the sun. Now, how powerful, how much energy is in the sun? I'm like drinking sunshine. I drink sunshine. This is sunshine you're drinking. By the way, this is bananas and dates and frozen blueberries and kale and spinach. So, the fruit is bananas and dates and frozen blueberries and the kale and spinach. And here's the thing, when you blend, we'll get to the exact, you want to know the exact.
Oh no, I want to know, I studied a long time ago that you don't mix fruit and vegetable.
Okay, yeah, that is a good point. And Victoria Butenko, who's known as the Green Smoothie Lady, she's the one that brought green smoothies, has classified vegetables as two different types. There is starchy vegetables and starch-less vegetables. You never want to mix fruit with starchy vegetables. But with the green leaves, and we also know this too because sometimes we have found that monkeys or gorillas in the wild will take a banana and wrap it with a green leaf. And we can look to the animals as being smarter than us in how to eat. They don't get the diseases we get. They don't have an epidemic of illness. It's us humans that have all of these 20,000 diseases or whatever it is. I think I heard that right, 20,000 names for different diseases. And there's only one disease, and it's acidosis. So I have found with me that blending them together, and here's the thing too, is I'm getting more nutrition out of the plant than if I were just to be eating it. If I just eat this amount of kale or spinach, I wouldn't be getting as much because there's a cellulose fiber wall of the plant where all the nutrition is stored. And if that thing doesn't get broken, that's where the nutrition is stored. It has to break. And typically, we're not going to chew enough. We don't chew enough. Even the best chewers are not going to chew like a gorilla chews. A gorilla is known to chew for 5 hours a day. So they're chewing, and they chew, and we're in a hurry, and we want to do the next thing. So the blender chews it. You you oxidize some of the nutrition in it, and you promote oxidation, which we don't want. However, it's filled with antioxidants, so I found it's a good trade-off. You know, there's more to be. Yeah.
They're even like more broken down. Is it important to have it chunkier and have more?
Not necessarily. You can. You know, it's both. Sometimes if you blend too much, the longer you blend, the more oxidation happens. The smoother it becomes, the more I think I've been doing this so much, and I didn't want too much oxidation, and so I kind of like it a little, not too smooth, but I don't like it too chunky either, so I kind of try to find it, and chlorophyll detoxifies the liver and the bloodstream. So the bloodstream is like everything, right? Our bloodstream is where everything is happening. And the liver is responsible for what I heard, over 600 different processes of the body. So the liver is really important. And chlorophyll can regenerate the liver. So some of us who had damage to the liver, all of us who have had some kind of damage to the liver in some form, we get to regenerate that. And then when the liver starts working, all of a sudden, so many different things start to work. So, you know, I keep getting these questions. It's like, you know, you feel good all the time, you're doing great. It's like, my body is working. And I guess everything is happening like the way it was meant to be. And I believe the way I'm living now and the way I feel on a daily basis is how I was meant to live. Before, when I was tired all the time or this or that, it was like...
Yeah, so tell us what you do. I mean...
Well, let me.
What do you take for breakfast? What do you take for lunch?
I will do that. So remind me, like even like 5 or 10 minutes. Let me just get through some of this, and I'll tell you what my daily deal is. And chlorophyll protects us from carcinogens like no other food or medicine can. And it chemically neutralizes the polluting elements in cells. It strengthens the cells. And it's a body deodorant. So I have found that I don't need as much deodorant or to shower as much. I still shower every Tuesday whether I need one or not. I still shower. No, I still shower every day, but it's like I just find that I eat less stuff and less. I don't know. I don't do cologne or anything like that. I like the way I smell. And I hear other people do. I want to go there. So then we go to hydrochloric acid. Now this is the acid in our stomach. So we digest food and then our stomach incinerates the food to break it down. And maybe some of you have noticed, because our natural level decreases as we age. You ever remember when you were younger and you might have thrown up and it was just like that feeling like, it like burned? You guys remember that? And then as an adult, it's like it's not as bad, or you know, it's not. That's because our hydrochloric acid has decreased. And hydrochloric acid is responsible for so much. And so gray hair has been linked to low levels. And so some people who have done the raw food diet for a while and have built up their hydrochloric acid again and given themselves the proper nutrition have gone from gray hair back to black. One of them in particular, the most famous, is a lady named Ann Wigmore. Ann Wigmore is the founder of the Hippocrates Health Institute, and she's also known as the wheatgrass lady. She's the one that brought wheatgrass to America and a few decades ago, and she was somebody in her 50s with all of these health ailments, and then she went raw and she started doing wheatgrass and sprouts, and by the time she was in her 70s, she had black hair. Her hair went black in her 70s, and she had the energy of a child, and she ran 2 businesses, and she was, you know, like what we all strive for. And And so, and they tested her hair, by the way, to make sure it wasn't dyed. They did test because it was pretty amazing. And most minerals like iron, how important is iron? We always hear about that zinc and calcium, the B complex. These certain amounts to be absorbed at all. So we could be eating all the right foods. It's not what we eat, it's what our bodies absorb. And not enough causes nutritional deficiencies because we're not absorbing it. And it also destroys the harmful microorganisms, pathogenic bacteria, parasites on their eggs and fungi. So we want high acid in our stomachs. And also helps digest large protein molecules. Incompletely digested protein fragments can absorb into the bloodstream and cause allergies and immunological disorders. So some of the people are like, I always have an allergy. Like I've heard so many people who went raw and then their allergies went away. And it's like, and they've been taking medication for years, decades sometimes, and all of a sudden their allergies are gone. There's just so much to incorporating more raw. And by the way, this class is not about becoming 100% raw vegan like me or Karen. This is about incorporating more fruits and veggies in your diet. And if you want to go all the way to raw, then great. And if you don't, that's okay too. But if I can convey to you to increase the fruits and veggies in your diet, then I've done what I want to do. I really want more and more people to experience what I experience. It's a great thing living on this planet.
My boyfriend moved out from Kansas City and a massive amount of allergies and total meat, potatoes, tons of Diet Coke, rock stars, and he's not 100% raw, he's a big eater, but just going from that to when I buy him chicken, I buy organic chicken now, and when I juice in the morning, I make him one, and sometimes he plugs his nose and just shoots it. But just getting rid of, energy drinks, not having soda in the fridge to always drink. I have an alkaline water machine, the odd juice, and cleaning up his diet, no allergies. And I have a Persian cat, and he had a massive cat allergy. So it's not just even a little bit doing what you can. I watched it. It's amazing.
And I didn't pay her to come and say that. And, this is I hear this so much. All of a sudden the allergies went away. And, and so many people are on pharmaceuticals for their allergies or the over-the-counter stuff. It's just, and so when stuff isn't broken down, large particles of unbroken down food get turned into acidic waste. Where do you think the acidic waste goes? We would like to think it goes out in the toilet, but it stays with us. And so acidosis, we're back to acidosis again. And then all the diseases that come from that.
Is there enough hydrochloric acid in the foods that we eating, or do we need a supplement?
No, actually, I do not believe hydrochloric acid is a food. I believe hydrochloric acid is made by our own body when it's given the proper nutrition to do so. I'm not 100% sure on that, but thank you for saying that. I love the questions because it makes me go and want to research this stuff.
I have there's something in lemons, and I don't know if it's passions or onions, it's whatever the negative ion is, and it's the only food in the world that has that, and it has something to do with our stomach acid.
Okay.
But I don't remember. And it may or may not answer that, but I don't remember it. Do you guys know what it is? It's onions.
We'll research that. We'll definitely research that. So fiber. We all know how important fiber is. It's made the news the last few decades. As fiber, get more fiber, get more fiber. And there's basically two kinds of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Soluble, mostly found in fruits, has a gel-like consistency, including the bulk in the colon. So we want soluble fiber. Insoluble fiber, now here's the magic right here, is mostly found in greens. It looks like a sponge under a microscope, and indeed it serves as a miraculous sponge because every piece of it can absorb many times more toxins than its own volume. So sometimes we go and we do these cleanses, and we could go to maybe Whole Foods or online, and we could get these cleansing kits. And these kits have things in them that attract toxins to themselves and then pull it out, and you get to eliminate that. Greens have this. Greens have insoluble fiber that attracts many more times its own weight and brings it out. And so, again, it's not so much what you eat, it's what you absorb. And when you're cleaned out, absorption increases, and all of a sudden you're getting more nutrition. Like, one of the examples I like to give is, let's just say I'm eating an apple, and there's a 5-year-old boy right next to me, and he's having an apple. He's getting more from that apple than I am. He's getting more nutrition from that apple than I am. Because he hasn't been on this earth long enough, you know, to get as polluted as I have gotten. And so now I get more nutrition than I did a year ago, 2 years ago, definitely 5 or 10 years ago. I'm getting more nutrition. And insoluble fiber has been getting cleaned out. And I love getting cleaned out. It feels so good. And so the main purpose of fiber is for elimination. And toxins from every part of the body, including millions of dead cells, end up in the body's sewage system, the colon. So our colon is like the sewage system. And so it gets worse and worse. I've heard stories like, I think it was John Wayne, who was reported to have 40 pounds of fecal matter in his intestines when he died. 40 extra pounds so we all have millions of cells that are just dead. And I think in the last couple of years I have 1 million minus, I don't know, 1,000, less, you know, and it can strengthen a diseased heart. It reduces cholesterol, which reduces the risk of heart disease. It prevents many different kinds of cancer, reduces cancer risks, and binds carcinogens. It can lessen the risk of diabetes and improve already diagnosed diabetes. Steadies blood sugar. Let me back up on the diabetes for a moment. I have a friend that I've helped get more into green smoothies, and he's type 2 diabetes. And he's over 300 pounds, and he has been taking medication. Just by doing the green smoothies for 1 month, he threw out all his medication, and his symptoms have been gone. Just from, so, you know, I'm not a doctor, I'm not here giving medical advice, but this is an experience that I know this guy, and that actually happened. So, and it steadies the blood sugar levels by slowing down the absorption of sugar. And Carrie was talking about that earlier, that so we want that steady, we want like a slow IV drip of sugar going through us at all times. We want our sugar levels to remain stable. We don't want this and this. Greens help balance that out. And then it strengthens the immune system. So it's like, I have friends, especially like over the winter time, and I was seeing all my friends, they all had a cold or the flu, or this one would have it and this one would have it. And it was and I go and I hug all my brothers, and some of them would say, no, you don't want to hug me right now, I'm sick. And I'm like, come here, hug me. I'm not getting sick. I haven't been sick in 2 years. I haven't been sick in 2 years. I know guys who have been doing this for 30 or 35 years. I know one guy who's been doing it for close to 40 years right now, and hasn't been sick in 40 years. Not once in 40 years. We think sickness is, oh, it's just going around, or it's the time of the year, and everybody's kind of catching what's going around. When your immune system is strong, you can, well, you know what I'm talking about, and keeps the bowels healthy, relieves constipation, and promotes regularity. I love going to the bathroom. I don't want to talk too loud. Everyone got quiet now. But it is an absolute joy to just do my thing, and it's quick, and it's regular, and it's awesome. And I didn't know how good I could feel, because I always thought, going even once a day was regular. And what I have come to learn is that after every meal, we are supposed to go. After every meal. So I take in, it goes out. Not that same meal, it's a 24-hour cycle, but it is, it's just such a, like, you know how dogs, when they come out of the bathroom and they're like this? That's how I go out of the bathroom. I'm all happy. Okay, so it prevents gallstones. It promotes healthy intestinal bacteria. Healthy intestinal bacteria. Intestinal flora. That is so important. We have bacteria in us that's really harmful for us. And we have bacteria in us that's really good for us. And because the good bacteria eats the bad bacteria. And so this happens, so we want good bacteria in us. We want it to grow and grow. And when it grows, all of a sudden we start to feel better. Again, this thing happens, and then this thing happens, and all of a sudden things start to work better. And then these things work better, then these things work better. And let's see here. So Dr. Bernard Jensen, who is like the colon man, he's long since passed, but any cleansing program should begin in the colon. In the 50 years I've spent helping people to overcome illness, disability, and disease, it has become crystal clear that poor bowel management lies at the root of most people's health problems. In treating over 300,000 patients, it is the bowel that invariably has to be cared for first before any effective healing can take place. So again, we're back to, if I eat this food and I want to eat this and this, and then I'll be healthy. It's like, no, it's like clean out first, and then you start to really absorb those healthy foods. I could be eating all the spinach that I want, I could be doing all of this, and then it's like, it's not doing anything, it's just going through me. It's not getting absorbed. And so, let's see here, we're not going to get into that video. We don't have time, we're running out of time, but Ann Wigmore, the wheatgrass lady, said the very same power that enables the roots of trees and clumps of grass to push their way through cement sidewalks in a matter of days is available to our bodies now, and in the form of wheatgrass and other green juices. So I do juicing. I believe in doing green juices, and I also believe in green smoothies, and I also believe in salads. So I get a lot of greens, and as a result, one of the things just the other day, on Friday morning, I woke up at the crack of dawn, like I usually do without an alarm clock. I was up all day long. I took I went to Runyon Canyon at about 9 or 10 in the morning, ran it like a beast, and I ran it like I run. I'm going up the hills as hard as I can. I'm going down the hills and balancing, and I love it. I'm having so much fun. But there's a lot of energy spent. And I went through the whole day, worked, and I took a 10-minute nap, like around 5 o'clock. Then went out to a nightclub at about 10 o'clock and danced for 3 hours until 2 a.m. And I was on the dance floor, smiling. Like I was smiling, and I danced hard. And there are tried people say, what is that guy on? And if they know that I'm on greens, I am on fruit and greens. And the energy is just awesome. I love it so much. And so this is what I know. And the next morning I woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I was cracking on again, ready for the day. And I mean, this is not abnormal for me. The energy is there, and for me, sometimes energy is too much. I don't know what to do with it. Like, it's heavy, so but I love it, and I'm learning to accept more energy, and that's me for Energy Factor. And after this, we're all welcome to stay here and have lunch. Anybody wants, and we could ask questions and talk. The first thing that I'm going to do before answering questions, because we are running overtime, is I need to take the TV and bring it out to my car. So I'm going to do that first. And if anybody wants to stick around and ask me or Carrie any questions, I'd love to answer it. And we could have lunch here and hang out. And thank you so much, you guys, for today.